The United States announced on Tuesday that it would release 50 million barrels of oil from its strategic reserves in a coordinated move with China, India, South Korea, Japan and Britain to cool prices after OPEC Plus producers rebuffed calls for more crude.
The United States on Tuesday announced it would take the rare move of releasing oil from what's called the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, part of a coordinated effort with the world's great industrial powers to drive down soaring energy prices. The White House said it'll release 50 million barrels of oil in an agreement with China, India, South Korea, Japan, and Britain. Climbing energy prices are contributing to overall inflationary pressures that are hammering U.S. President Joe Biden's public approval ratings. The announced release of strategic reserves comes after a group of major oil exporters known as OPEC Plus rebuffed Biden's repeated calls to pump more crude into global markets. The OPEC Plus states have shown no signs of a change of heart ahead of their December 2nd meeting. The UAE's energy minister said Tuesday he does not see the logic of ramping up oil production at this time. U.S. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer welcomed the U.S. announcement, saying it offers, in his words, temporary relief for high gas prices. But he called for a long-term solution to eliminate dependence on fossil fuels and create a, quote, robust green energy economy. But analysts said the price impact stemming from the release of reserves will likely be short-lived after years of declining investments and a strong global recovery from the health crisis. It certainly was short-lived on Tuesday. Crude futures initially fell after the announcement, but rebounded strongly.
And to discuss this, I'm joined live from Washington, D.C. by Omid Chokri, who's an energy security analyst. Omid, thank you so much for joining us here again today on A News. The announcement that this oil will be released has been expected for a few days. Is this move setting up for a dispute between the various countries, the United States, China, India, Japan, and South Korea, against OPEC, the OPEC group?
Thanks for having me. As you are aware, before the Biden administration reached to major energy consumer to release some part of strategic petroleum reserve, Biden administration and National Security Advisor of White House tried to reach Saudi Arabia official to discuss with them to produce more oil to create a balance in the market. But when OPEC Plus member opposed about this suggestion, Biden administration tried to reach other side, energy consumer country. It is a reality that OPEC Plus and OPEC is control oil market, and it is expected to, in the coming years, the role of OPEC Plus will be increased, and a majority of experts believe that after the decision made by Biden administration to release SPR, OPEC will be more powerful in coming years. And refer to your question, I don't think major energy consumer will be able to fight or to competitive relation with the OPEC Plus, because we are seeing some recovery after COVID, and this recovery means more demand are fossil fuel, oil and natural gas, and the majority of oil resources controlled by OPEC Plus member. And as I mentioned, this decision will be face new crisis, for energy consumer, and OPEC Plus will be more powerful for controlling and managing the oil market, especially next year.
Of course, OPEC has kept very tight controls over the price of oil. But despite that, during the pandemic period, because of a lack of demand, we saw prices drop right out the bottom into negative territory, which is a difficult concept for me to understand. But now the prices have gone up in the United States. Why are there such swings at this stage? Is it because the supply building up again? And is this an appropriate way of regulating them?
Yeah, it's a great question. The major factor in stabilizing energy market, oil, coal, natural gas, and other source of energy, just is balancing in supply and demand. As you mentioned, during the pandemic, a majority of countries, when faced with financial crisis, try to delay some oil and gas projects. And if any country or any project will be delayed, will be faced with delay, we can see the effect of such delay in 1 or 3 years later. Any delay in the last year faced current energy market, and due to this energy crisis, all the countries trying to more focus on fossil fuel and more investment in fossil fuel and oil and gas projects. And it's against some agreement agreed by all countries in Glasgow summit. The main problem is there is, at present, there is a balance in the market, and OPEC Plus members are satisfied with this current price, and they are not interested to increase oil price because, increase oil production capacity. 2 weeks ago, the Deputy Minister of Energy of Russia said himself that Russia is satisfied with this current production level, and all OPEC member plus has a worry about uncertainty in the market, especially mid of next year. And due to this situation, I think we have next OPEC Plus summit next week, and I think OPEC Plus has two options to face this crisis. One of them may be to freeze gradually production increase, and another one, if major energy consumer release more amount of SPR, maybe OPEC Plus member came to conclusion to decrease current production level, and it will face oil price goes up, and it is against the national security of major energy consumer such as EU and US.
Is there a risk that that this new supply that's going to be coming from the reserves could destabilize the situation and make it difficult for OPEC to move forward?
You know, this action just has a little, and short run in oil market. If you compare yesterday and today's oil price, you can see some increase, especially in the Brent. We have tomorrow Thanksgiving holiday, and during the holiday and next month we have New Year and Christmas holiday. This holiday means more demand for fossil fuel, more demand for natural gas, more demand for oil. More demand equals increasing the price. Due to this situation, if these countries make a decision 2 months before or maybe 2 months later, it can more effective on oil prices. But due to holidays and especially next month, I think this decision has no effective role in creating balance in the market, and the price goes down.
Now, we heard Joe Biden speaking earlier, and he was very critical of prices in the United States, saying that a spike in prices isn't anything that hasn't been experienced before. And I think he mentioned in 2012 and some other times there have been similar spikes. And so this isn't anything really abnormal. And also he was very highly critical of the way that the oil producers hadn't been passing on reductions in costs to the consumers. So how much of this is this a good way to manage the domestic problems?
Trump administration more focused on fossil fuel, but when Biden came to power, tried to more focus on renewable energy and energy transition process. Current energy crisis shows that Biden administration has the new vision toward energy market in domestic and international era. And Biden administration, I think, at the same time has to focus on renewable energy and also to fossil fuel, and try to also, support shale field in the U.S. if wants to solve the problem and if wants to overcome the effect of current energy crisis. About the effect of current energy crisis, I have to say that U.S. faced the highest inflation rate during the last 3 decades, and high energy costs and high energy price directly affected of inflation rate in the U.S. And Biden administration is very about the effect of this high inflation in next election, 2022 and 2024 president election, and trying to solve the problem. But it is a reality that Biden administration has no more option on the table And investing in an energy transition process needs high technology and also need a high financial capability. And the main issue is the time. And the energy transition process and more investing in renewable energy needs time. And the time is not in favor of Biden administration.
So just finally, how do you think this will play out in the markets? Are the prices going to stabilize, or are we going to see fluctuations continuing as we've seen in the last couple of days?
Yeah, I think, as I mentioned, during the holidays, and I mean, yesterday, tomorrow we have holiday Thanksgiving in the U.S. We have more demand, and it's directly affected oil prices and gas prices in the U.S. And for the short term, it's depend of next OPEC Plus member, because as I mentioned, we have a balance in the market. If more release faced by major energy consumer, we can see some increase in the price, but if OPEC Plus try to produce less or try to freeze current production level, we can see oil price goes up. We have to wait to next OPEC Plus summit, and also we have to wait next January after, holidays. After holidays, we can see any crisis in the market or any balance in the market. Due to exciting balance or imbalance, we can see new crisis, new price in the market.
Excellent. Well, as you're in Washington, I must wish you a very happy Thanksgiving tomorrow. Dr. Omid Chokri, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us your wisdom. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Now, the US consumer spending